because of the fact that it gives us the rolling opportunity to, hopefully get new people along. So at the moment, maybe we'll just do a quick run around to say hello to everybody who's here. So just to say, this is the second series of efforts to try and promote and expand the whole idea of a global men's shed Zoom network in whatever way, shape or form it takes place, and in an organic level. The first one of these, I ran a series of 3 meetings over January. I can't remember the dates, mid-January or early January, and I just was mindful of not letting this go on without getting back to people. So the other thing is, I'm going to suggest that it would be beneficial, and this really comes from an idea by Tony Lettington. Is Tony there by any chance? He may not be here at the moment. No, Tony's there, yeah. But sorry, Tony made a great suggestion when we did some training with his group, that in renaming ourselves, we would rename ourselves in sort of with 3 characteristics, I suppose. So if you look at my name is Liam O'Gogan. It's in there. I'm from, let's say, okay, so I'll just say Guidor, okay. And then what I'll just say is that I'm on an iPad. And those 3 characteristics have proved very useful. 1, because we could be, we know where everybody's from. And 2, if somebody runs into a problem on a particular device, somebody else here will have a similar device. So it's proved very useful. So just in case someone's not clear as to how to rename, if you go on to the participants, if you click on the button participants, you look at your own name, you will find the capacity to rename. So that would be very helpful. So maybe I'll just go around. What I'll also do is, when I'm doing so, I will spotlight the particular individual, and maybe everybody's on mic at the moment. So if we then just, it's the old syllablag, who are you, where do you come from sort of thing, just to introduce ourselves. And then 30 seconds, then we'll move on and we'll move into stuff. So just say, that's me, Liam. I'm delighted to be back. I mean, I've been inundated with the positivity of the people that I've met through this process. I had a wonderful time going to a couple of John's meetings up in Nairn. We weren't there yesterday, John, for 2 reasons. One, there was another supposed meeting in Donegal, but all the internet all over the west coast of Ireland. Mick Malloy is here to tell you about that. So we really had a salutary lesson in how dependent on the internet we are. So anyway, I'll move to Tom Connery from Ramsgrange in County Wexford. So hiya, Tom, welcome along.
Good morning, Liam, and my name is Tom. Ramsgrange is down in the southeast of Ireland, out on the Hook Peninsula, down by the sea, and we're a men's shed, and Liam has already been in contact with us and gave us some very good training on the use of Zoom. Thanks, Liam.
Excellent, Tom. So if we go to Tony, we just Dan Gamay coming in there. So I hope somebody will, well, we just do the introductions first. So sorry, Tony, we'll just move to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm Tony Liddington. I'm a member of the Colton Common Shed near Hampshire, in Hampshire, near Winchester. And I've been following you now for 3 weeks. This has been a long meeting for me, Liam, if you remember. I was here yesterday morning. Lots of day I did this week.
Look, I mean, one of the problems with Zoom is that we get people come in at all sorts of different times to meet. But maybe, look, at our conversation, I hope, is going to develop an understanding. It's like going out in the motorways or driving in Italy, in the villages in Italy, everybody direction and well-meaning. Anyway, welcome, Tony. So we'll move on to Tony Rainbord. So hiya, Tony.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I'm here from across the water. I'm on the border of Norfolk and Suffolk. But over in Norfolk, and yeah, thank you for having me on board. And I think getting together like this is tremendous.
Brilliant, Tony. And you'll see there that you said you were from Norfolk, so I, as the host, was able to add that into your name. So at least we'll move along like that. And again, I really like the idea that Tony put in, probably not as critical here, but useful to know what devices people are on, because we can learn from each other. So I'm moving to Dan.
I'm on a laptop.
Excellent. So maybe if you add that into your description. So how are you, Dan? We're just literally doing our check-in at the moment.
That's
so we just come to your name.
Sir
Yeah.
Tom Jones. Sorry.
I'm not gonna. No,
I'm sorry.
I'm not going there. Good morning. Good morning, all. Westbury in Wiltshire, based. I'll put something up. What do you want me to put? Where we're based and what machine we're on.
Yeah, I just thought it's a really good idea that Tony came across as we were working with Graham and himself. So I think it's excellent. Dan Gamay area machine, whatever. I just think
No
it's
problem.
going to help us. And if imagine worldwide as people got going, I mean, you'll find that Mac people have connections with each other, etc. So welcome along, Dan.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to see those little things. Actually, it's lovely to discover those little things about people when somebody doesn't speak for ages, and all of a sudden you go, "Hold on a second, where did you say you were from?" And it gets really quite exciting, doesn't it? All of a sudden. Oh yes, great to be digging with you, Liam. This is a very interesting project, and I'm here to support and do whatever I can, best way I can. Lovely to see lots of friends here too. Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. So we just moved to Graham. How are you, Graham?
Hi. Yes, Tony and I are in the same shed, and you actually have helped us get some of our people going on Zoom. Hopefully we can continue that. But yeah, it is very useful and great to be here and see people from before. Thank you.
Brilliant. And just again to thank Graham very much, both he and Tony and Dave, I think from your shed. We had some follow-up meetings where the guys have been busy as beavers developing stuff in the background about other sort of skill sets around Zoom. So if I didn't get back to you in the last couple of days, Graham, just because I've been running mad, but delighted that we could catch up here today. So
That's
Paul
fine.
Nagel, excellent. Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Nagel. I'm based in the Rhondda Valleys in South Wales. I run a social enterprise called ShedNet, which is short for Shed Network, and our aim is to help support the opening of sheds across 5 of the Heads of Valley regions in the area.
Okay.
And I've been involved in sheds since 2013.
Brilliant, Paul. Super. And again, I had a great fortune of meeting Paul then because of John's work up in Nairn. So we've met a couple of times online. There's new people coming in all the time. So I'll move to Mick Malloy. And when we finished this, I just hope I make sure I include everybody. So how are you, Mick?
Morning, Liam. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Mick Malloy from Ardra on the beautiful Wide Atlantic Way in Donegal, just down the road from Liam. Good to see you all. Liam, I'm not too sure how long I'll be on this morning, but good to be here anyway at present. So bang on, let's get rolling.
Yeah, and just to say, I mean, I look, we set aside an hour and a half for this, and I'm hopeful that even if people just literally land their craft and say hello, that's fine, because it's all about faces and names at this stage, just to get the sense of who everybody is. And again, just to say, because I'm recording this, and I'll discuss, I mean, it's really interesting, the sort of different, when I record this in the cloud, it records a number of parallel versions of this. So it records them with the gallery, with a speaker view, and separately it records the audio. But it will give us the opportunity to let other people who are not here in different countries and different continents hear the accents, the words, and realize that there's stuff happening. So Ray Healy, again, you're coming up on my screen in the participants, so there's no particular order. I just hope I cover. So how are you, Ray?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for having us along. I'm a member of I'm the chair of the Shanklin Men's Sheds on the Isle of Wight. Steve Print is also, he comes on occasionally. Thank you for having us. This is my first time on, and welcome to everybody. I'm pleased to see everybody. Basically, we got a small shed that's attached to YMCA. They give us a boiler room which we turned into a workshop. We do a lot of community work, as well as making things to sell for the shed. And
super, Ray.
Very much for
Yeah, excellent. Again, I just see when you come in, I think with your address, it might be MLS or something, .Shanklin or something. Is that the email address? I think, is that you?
Yeah, Shanklin Men's Sheds, yeah.
Yeah, because I just think in some of the bounce backs that I got on emails, I was worried because I may have had that in twice, but one of them certainly came in correctly spelled.
The other one's for Steve Print.
Okay, so yeah, no, but I just need to, again, out of this thing here, I hope that I can make sure that we correct errors in emails, etc. So only good man, Ray. So we're moving to John Rushforth. How are you, John?
Hiya, from chair and member of Nairn Shed, which is behind me. We have a unique ISP because we're on a live railway station, or we were when we were open. Of course, we're now closed. Zoom has been our lifeline. It's made the difference between Nairn Shed really still having its identity during the pandemic and not having its identity. And it reached a point where we opened the shed up to pretty well anybody from 11 o'clock on our Wednesday meetings. And everybody's very welcome. Drop in, talk about sheds, talk about rubbish, talk about anything you like, basically. So that's me.
Excellent, John. So just what I'm going to do, guys, mindful of a couple of things, but also in case anybody drops out, I have added John and Dan as co-hosts, okay? So in the event of anything happen, like I said, yesterday it was blanket. Not only were the internet and the phones gone here, but when you went to a shop, you couldn't buy anything without cash because the tills didn't work. I mean, it was doomsday here yesterday. So just to do this, so I just want to make sure, is there anybody else? So Trevor, I don't think I've covered you. So how are you?
Right, yes, Thornbury Men's Shed. We're north of the M4, west of the M5 in the Southern Valley, in Gloucestershire. Membership 21. What's been interesting is that during the lockdown, we actually gained members who actually paid up their fees, paid their session fees, even though we're not in the shed. Of course, there are some members who don't have internet or don't have mobile phone. The older members, I think our oldest member is about 93, but very active. So that's where we are at the moment. Just frustrated that we can't open the shed.
Okay, Trevor, super. So we've had a couple of new people join us. So I'll just go to Derek. Derek. So Derek's from Nairn. So Derek. Morning, Derek. So I'm just going to put you in the wherever you are. So you're jumping around on my screen here. Yeah, okay. If you just turn on your video first, Derek, I'll come back to you. I'll go to Colin. So Colin,
hello.
Just put you. Yeah. So Colin, hold on. They put you in the spotlight here, and just say again, welcome. So we're just going around to check in with everybody, Colin. All right.
Okay. Hello to everyone. As I say, I'm on my wee iPad. I couldn't get in on the computer, so I joined us on the tablet and saying. Yeah, my name is Colin Sweeney and I teach art through the Men's Shed here in Ardra and Killybegs and Duncanale or Donegal Town. So that's me introduction. I'm just still getting this fixed up. Sorry, boys.
All right, excellent, Colin. So Derek will move to you, and Hannah, if you just get ready with your turning your video on too, so I can do. So Derek, just come on there and unmute your mic. You have your mute. Yeah, excellent. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm like John Rushforth. I'm a member of Nairn Shed. And I want to see what's happening.
Excellent. All right, Derek. So just move to Hannah. So Hannah, will you just speak to us first to just, I know your mic is switched on. And secondly, if you turn on your video, then I can spotlight you so you can just say hello to everybody. I think that might be the last part. So we'll just speak there, Hannah.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can.
We can hear you. So if you just start your
video's playing up on my computer, so you probably won't be able to. I'll listen in.
No problem. No, so just introduce yourself, Hannah.
Yeah, I'm Hannah, and I'm a member of the Men's Shed as well. Yeah, I've been a member for about 2 years now.
I think you're with Tony and Graham down there, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we've met Hannah before. So look, everybody's welcome. So I just want to see at the moment, and thanks everybody for muting your mic when we're not speaking. So what I'll do is if there's someone I haven't covered in the go around, would you please? I think I've done everybody. Just if I haven't, just please speak out now or forever hold your peace. Okay. So I think that's all. I just want to read in some of the apologies. So again, forgive me if I don't, like, I had an email from Jim. And again, maybe somebody remembers Jim's second name. Jim is the chap who took the minutes of the first meeting, of the second sections in the first meeting. He lives on a houseboat. But interesting, he just said, sorry, busy Thursday, can't join, but please do keep me in the loop. He said something interesting, which I thought. He said, we now are using Eventbrite for our weekly shed and our tickets. So happy for you to share this link, which will be updated to show the current sessions. So particularly in relation to Dan Gamai's work, which I'll get Dan to talk about, that's something we loop in. But I thought that idea of a true Eventbrite is useful. The other one was from Graham Parks, I think it is. And Graham has just said he hopes he can drop in today. I just hope that there was somebody from Ludlow, I think it was. Maybe Graham is from Ludlow. Oh yeah, we're in Ludlow, early stage of formal project, and the info you sent to your colleagues would be very helpful. I'll keep you posted on how things progress. And for now, a few of us on our own sheds are continue to do stuff. So again, I'm just trying to make sure that, so Charlie Taylor said he'd be here. So some people may arrive in yet. Okay, so I think the good thing about this is by taking a recording of this, and one, I'll obviously email it to everybody who's in this process, but the other thing is maybe we can talk about how we can spread that concept. So I'm just trying to sort of think through how we might sort of make some progress. First, it's massive just to get people to meet with each other. Steve, I'm not sure if I got you to, maybe Steve, you might have dropped in behind under the radar. Yeah. So I can just get a chance to say Steve Shanklin. So Steve, I'll just put you in the spot and just say hello there, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Yeah, a bit late getting on. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I've come along with Ray. Ray's the chair. We're Shanklin, Isle of Wight. I'm the secretary. We've just popped along to see what's what with the Zoom. I see, interestingly, you've got some smartphones you've rolled out, and we've just ordered. I'm expecting them today, actually. Some Galaxy tablets for the lads that don't Zoom at the moment. So we managed to get a grant, interestingly, from I think some digital government thing that was linked to the lotto. I should have put in for some more, actually. I only put in for 750, not expecting to get it, and we got it. So I've ordered 5 tablets, which are going to arrive, as I said, today. So we'll be getting those that don't normally Zoom online. So that's about us. Oh, one for John at Nairn. We've I don't know if you're aware, John. We the island's got underground trains that roll overground. Did you know that, John? Just nod. No. And they're 1938 stock. They're being replaced this year. So our trains on the island are not running, except for the steam ones. So we'll be getting new 1980s refurbished rolling stock, and maybe next time we can show you some photos, but you might be able to Google it somewhere online.
That's it. You won't be allowed to smoke on those anymore then, Steve. Post 1980, no. you're not allowed to smoke on them, mate.
Guys, for my sins in my earlier life as an engineer, I was involved with the electrification of the Irish railways in Dublin. We moved from obviously steam to diesel. It was from diesel to electric. So it was an interesting time in my life. I learned working in the railway that the one thing I learned was make sure the last letter in the file is yours asking a question. I just became so cynical working with railway. Anyway, here's a suggestion I have as we're talking. It seemed to me that there are possibly 3 sort of threads we might follow in our conversation today. I'll just throw that out, and I'm going to ask people if they feel there's other threads we might follow. So one which is sort of stimulated by Steve is tools to use with Zoom. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The other one is the concept of my vision in this is my vision is, for example, in terms of men's sheds, that every member of a men's shed in the world develops the competency to be able to attend a meeting like this one, to find out what's going on, engage, and also to do what John Rushforth has so eloquently captured in relation to the essence of a shed. A shed is a place where men should come, drink tea and dream. So they're two parallel processes. And so in relation to that, I mean, my idea of this forum, and I call it specifically a forum because it's a place to share ideas, but that we might look at the processes for expanding the utilization and pickup by men. So that's separate from the specifics. We'll talk about the phones and the tablets. And then the other aspect in relation to that is the concept of facilitating training for those men to be able to do so. And I think Graham will have a lot to offer in that space. And then the other aspect, which I think I'd suggest that Dan might lead, is the idea of John Rushforth has, I've managed to experience that welcome of going to their shed meeting. So the idea that creating a listing of men's sheds meetings that are open around the world at different times. Somebody in the Nairn shed said, I wake up in the morning at maybe the middle of the night because of all these sleeping arrangements that we're in, and mixed up. Like I was awake at 4:30 this morning because my mind was busy, not because I was having nightmares. And I came down and I watched a wonderful documentary on the history of the Irish lighthouses. But the fact is that at 4:30 in the morning, a guy called Bob Frood from somewhere in the middle of Australia, who's been a contact before, I set up a Facebook post, and obviously he was wide awake. So maybe Dan can talk to that. And then the other aspect then is the support resources that are being developed in the background through Google Docs. And at least there are 4 topics. One, I suppose, expanding the engagement by men throughout the world in Zoom, how we might do that. The tools for doing it, and we'll get Steve to come back and talk a little bit that. The training for doing it, maybe if Graham, you might think of leading that. And Dan, how do we create these magical conversations and keep setting them on? So if there's someone else who'd like to throw something into that, I just list it down and we'll get to them one after the other. So any suggestions, guys? So just come on, Mike, if you feel you've got something to say. And if not, we just go to the first of those topics. Okay, and again, if possible, if people can use the raise hand feature in the thing at any time that they want to draw my attention. No, actually, probably before that. In the 3 meetings I ran before, a chap called Patrick stepped up and said, I'll keep a record of the meeting. And he produced the most wonderful set of information. And followed by Jim. So I would appreciate if someone would undertake that task, because otherwise it's going to be impossible for me to keep the threads going. So really all I'd ask you to do is, if someone's here who wasn't, I'm not sure, Tony, if you picked up, if you're on the mailing list. If you're not, and you put your address into the chat box, whoever agrees to take the minutes or the notes of it, just maybe you'll make sure that afterwards we connect together, make sure that that list is updated. So if somebody would like to just undertake that role, I'd appreciate it, because then I'd also make you a co-host.
Can I just say, Liam, that if anyone's going to put notes in the chat box here, and as you're recording the message, you'll get a complete transcript of everything in there. So if anybody feels they've got something really important to add, but they can't actually say it or can't butt in, just put it in the chat box and it will be included.
Excellent. Okay. So really what I'm looking for is sort of somebody to back up what I'm doing. And the other thing is, that person who might do it might also call my attention to things that I have forgotten. So I see there's somebody in the chat. So Trevor is off to the dentist at the moment, so he might rejoin later. We might be able to make out what he says if his whole head is injected. But anyway, so I mean, it would be very important. Don't be slow stepping forward, guys. This is fucking like going to a lecture again, But I think it's really important that we sort of map what we're doing here.
I'm staying in the background, Liam.
Well, no, just to say that
I'll keep half an eye on things, my friend, but I'm staying in the background.
Yeah, no, but I just say I would like Dan to focus his mind on how we discuss the issue about the meetings. I'd like Graham to focus his mind on how we talk about the training. I'd like Steve to focus his mind about how we might work with different devices. So that's 3 roles already that somebody can play. Like, I'm not looking, there's no rules here about what we do. It's just that I think you will all have had the benefit of seeing what somebody else did. It just emerged from the group, So look, I'll just leave it for a fefew minutes. But again, anybody, everybody, somebody, and nobody. If nobody does it, there won't be a record. So like we need to do this, right? So I think so. I'm just going to list out what I think is the 4 topics that I think we'll talk about. So the first one, I was just going to speak to the idea of working together in a collaborative way to try and bring more and more men in sheds into a space where they're familiar and interested. So I can't speak, say, to let's say Tony and to Mick and to Tom, because myself and my woman Mary, we have, over the last couple of months done specific training. So we've done it specific with Tom's group, wonderful group of people. And just to say, the magic thing, I just want to explain, Tom is a man in his group who looks to me like he's in his mid-80s. I think he's a retired guard, and I think his name was Kevin. And while we were doing it, it was obvious that he was having some difficulties. And Tom very wisely sent me a private chat to say that Kevin suffers from Alzheimer's. So obviously I was able to modulate my conversation with him, but also Kevin's elderly wife joined with him, and they achieved everything. But at the end of the session, Tom asked myself and Mary to sing a song, which we did. And then I just said, anybody want to sing a song? And this man, Kevin, in his mid-80s with Alzheimer's, sang a beautiful song called The Lake Isle of Innisfree, pitch perfect and without losing a word. And if I ever saw the reason why we do, Kevin was the best example I could have. So maybe, Tom, if you can talk about that little idea of what the training, the process of training did with your group, how it might work with other groups going forward. And Tony and Mick, you might speak to that for a moment or two. Okay. So Tom, if you might come in there and just speak to that.
Basically, with your training, I think people that's working, a lot of us had laptops and more people had telephones and iPads or whatever, and they weren't sure about to get to various aspects of it, be it sharing or chats or even putting up funny faces or whatever, how to stop it or how to mute yourself. And Ian took us through that in a half an hour, I suppose, all day to us. So we all ended up with a better understanding of what each other's capabilities were, I suppose, and that's important. We're able to help each other. And since then, we actually got a grant from the BEC to do some IT training as a result of your discussion with us, and we're looking now at what we can do to organise that. So thanks, Liam.
Excellent, Tom. So immediately comes in there an add-on to what Steve was talking about. One is to get the group together, the sense of the group that they learn something useful. The other thing is we found is that the group themselves bond a lot better together by doing so. And then from that emerges the stimulus, as Tom said, to maybe go and get further grants from your local environments. So Tony, will you just come on there just briefly and share your sort of sense of that training and what it did for you as a group and how this might roll out to sheds everywhere, because obviously Mary and I are just two people. We're not going to be able to do this for everybody, but think about that. So Tony, would you just come in there? So that's Tony Liddington. Yeah, so I'll just ask Tony to unmute and maybe just speak to that topic a moment. Yeah, good man. Sorry, Tony, your mic is on, so I'll just ask you to unmute.
I thought I'd unmuted that.
Excellent. Yep.
You caught me unawares there. I thought you was talking to the other Tony. So I'm not really sure what it is you want me to say, Liam, to be quite honest.
Okay, so all I wanted to do, Tony, was just to reflect on, I met with Graham first, and then he pulled a crowd of you guys together. We had a session. And my point is, if we're going to help and support other men and men's sheds throughout the world, I think it's through this method. We take 5 or 6 people at a time. Now, so obviously, we can't do it. It's how do we create modules that people can just easily pick up and learn? Now, Tom has realized, Tom says, okay, we got a bit of going, then we've got a grant to do some training. Steve is going to talk about the fact that he's got some equipment in which we can do that. So maybe if I can move, you come in after Tom, maybe if you had some thoughts on it. Sorry, just before I go to you, Mick, we've had Charlie Taylor join us. So Charlie, whenever you get your mic and video turned on, I'll just get you to say hello to everybody. So I'll come back to you, Charlie. So Mick, maybe you might just talk to that concept for a moment.
Right, Liam. Can everybody hear me quite clearly?
Yes.
Okay, right. Well, last year we made contact with Liam, and Liam came back to us with the idea of doing a bit of specific training with some of the men in the Ardra men's shed. I was lucky in the sense that the guys in the shed with me took this idea and decided to run with it. And over 4 days and 1 week, we done 4 sessions of about an hour and a half. And Liam took us very methodically through a procedure to use all the configurations of Zoom, the basic ones. And after maybe 2 or 3 sessions, the guys were fit to do a lot of the things themselves. And that built up over the 4 days so that everybody was relatively confident in getting onto a Zoom class or program and communicating with each other. So the first group was about 5 or 6. And since that then, in the new year, we decided to try it for ourselves. And since the 8th of January, we've been having regular Zoom meetings on a Wednesday night. And at this stage, there's 10 of us that get together on a Wednesday night. That may come up or down, just depending on who's around. So for us, it has worked out as a way for our shed members to actually physically sit, take a bit of time out, talk, have a cup of tea, tell jokes, tell a few stories, add little bits of fun to it. And it's a way of communicating without having to sit beside each other in a men's shed. It has moved on now to the fact where we have set ourselves to do a project over the next few weeks between now and the middle of March. And we have split the project up into 5 or 6 pieces so that each member of the group has a specific job he's going to work on, and then we'll bring it all together. And at the end of it, this will be a task that we have done collectively during the lockdown. So for us, it's worked wonderfully well. It's very amusing, it's entertaining, and I think the boys look forward to it. So all I can say to Liam and Mary, you know, they took their time with us. They were very patient, and at the end of it, we have something great that each one of us enjoys every time we get on. So thank you, Liam.
Excellent, Mick. So just again, people are joining us and dropping in and out. So 2 people have joined us just since that break. One, Charlie Taylor. So Charlie, you're welcome. Just turn on mic and just I'll spotlight you and just say hello to everybody. You might also say where you're from, Charlie, so then I can just rename you so we know where everybody is. Okay. And Raymond, if you can, the idea is we rename ourselves by our name, our location, and probably the device that we're using. So how are you, Charlie? You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Ditchingham Men's Shed, which is on the Norfolk-Suffolk border. We now started using Zoom on a Friday morning. I think we're getting about 12 or 13 there, but Tony, who's on here this morning as well, he's the one who's running the meetings. So that's nice to see everybody this morning anyhow.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for coming along. So we'll get back to what we were doing earlier. So Raymond, just want to pull you into the spotlight to say hello. That's you, Raymond, yeah?
Yes, Liam. How are you? Just renaming myself here. excellent.
So Charlie, while you're there, if you know how to rename yourself, I'm not sure if it's Ditchingham. I'm afraid to spell your names wrong, guys. So yeah, okay, good man. Yeah, excellent. So go ahead, Raymond. Yeah.
No, I just joined in, have a chat with you and see how everything's going, and I think that should be it done.
Yeah, so Raymond's from Kilmacrennan, also in Donegal, as his mix. So just to say that, so he would be a little more in the north and centre than where we're on in Gweedore.
We're in the good part of the country up here.
The only thing is, at least we're right down on the shore, and thankfully we're very less likely to see snow, which is excellent. So, so what we're doing at the moment, just to bring up the speed, we're just dealing with a number of topics. The topic we're talking about at the moment is how to expand the usability and useful activity, the engagement by more and more men throughout the world with Zoom. And we were reflecting a little bit on the different training that people have had So Tony, I'll just ask you to maybe come in again and maybe have a bit of a chance to add some value to that. And again, I say it's amazing what you pick up. Tony's suggestion that we name ourselves, our name, our location, and our device. I've seen Tony's in a MacBook Air has proved really, really useful. So again, thanks, Tony. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's echoing a lot of what others have said, that you contacted us, or Graham contacted you, and we had it, and you and Mary led us by our noses, for want of a better expression, down the route of learning Zoom, and you was really patient with how you done it, and yeah, you built up our confidence in using it, all the little quirks that you can do within it, and yeah, I'm just hoping that our shed's going to go from strength to strength. Little birdie tells me that although they don't fully publicly grasp Zoom, that privately that they've been using Zoom amongst their trustees. They've been using Zoom for quite some time. So much so that they had a meeting yesterday to decide whether or not they're going to open it up. I think open it up to other members, but there lies the story. We'll have to see what happens. So, but thank you, Liam. Thank you, Mary, for all the help that you've been and are being. And we're all waiting to go to the next level.
Okay, so I suppose that will lead us to when we move on to talking about that levels of training. We'll ask Graham to speak to that. But I think the important, if I can just share with you again what the objective that Mary and I set out to do in relations, and I think it's really important that we concentrate on the core mission is to get people. I hope I pick up the right. Yeah, I mean, we simply took these 8 steps, which thankfully everybody here today seems quite capable of doing. And I know Tony Rainbord was on there. Sorry, sorry.
Counselling. A while back.
So again, if you don't intend to be speaking, you might mute yourself. I'm not sure. Tony, you have your hand up. So do you want to say something? Again, so again, I'm assuming Tony Rainbord in Norfolk has his hand up. I leave it up at the moment. Sorry, Tony, do you want to say something?
I'm happy to wait for an invite in. I just wanted to tell you of our situation and how we're like the blind sort of leading the partially sighted.
Okay, well, just hold that for a moment, Tony.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, hold that. So just want to say we've set out to do these minimal tasks. And what we have discovered, and I mean, Tom and Mick and Tony are testimony to that people who've gone through that process, and yes, you're right, it is a painstakingly patient process driven by the mantra that nobody gets left behind. Whether you're the 85-year-old guy, Kevin, who's there, or someone who's struggling, who's never used a mobile phone before, we go out of a way. Nobody fails at this. And just to say, and we're not just working with men's groups. I mean, our views, like we have, personally, Mary and I have this mission that 160,000 people in Donegal, our population, will all be comfortable with using Zoom by the 1st of February 2022, in spite of the fact that all of the public officials and all tell us it's impossible because they're not in, like they're looking to jump out of the box. We don't know what a box is. We're not into boxes. So just to say that's working wonderfully. But an example of we're working with a group in Mid-Donegal, an elderly group, mixed group, but not the woman who's driving is 80 years of age. But the other day, in the second day of her training, when it came around, like we have here, to saying hello to everybody, a woman came on and she just broke down. She broke down to say that her mother-in-law just died of COVID. And what was set out to be a training process became a magical space of shared grief. And for Mary and I, we were honored to realize this is why we're doing this. We're not doing it because we love technology. I happen to love that anyway, but it's not about that. So I'm saying I think we've learned a lot of practical what works and what doesn't work. We certainly believe that after an initial 2-hour session followed by 3 40-minute sessions, that everybody who participates believes themselves that the things work. It's not magic. So I can offer that. And I would love to see that model could be sort of put together as a model and that various people could end up moving it through your own groups. Because obviously you can't develop this in a linear way. maybe if I can just get Steve to come in and talk a little about what's been happening, because it was a very interesting you talked about those devices, and then I'll share with you what we're doing at the phones at the moment. So Steve, maybe you'll just come in there, will you?
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Yeah, I don't want to reinvent the wheel or anything. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah, work away.
Yeah, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we've been Zooming about 10 months now, I guess, something like that, nearly coming up to the year. But of course, we thought we'd only be in it for the one lockdown, and then it's 2 lockdowns, and now it's 3 flipping lockdowns. So we was a bit worried about those that weren't, we're the ones we're phoning around. So we've gone for this grant, which I mentioned briefly, and we were lucky to get £750, and I've managed to get 5 tablets. It was a job to know which way to go with them, because 3 of the guys haven't got any broadband. So what we've done is we've gone for the what do you call them, the data sims, is that right, everybody? Data sim cards, and then they can pick up from the nearest mobile mast, so they don't have to get broadband. And I've got a couple 2 tablets that obviously connect to a broadband, to a Wi-Fi. Like I said, some of you may have already gone through this, but that's where we stand at the moment. We've got I think we've got about 18 members currently. So we've got to get these 5 that never attend. We have a dozen attend every week at our weekly meeting, but we've got to get these 5 that we just phone around on board, as it were. So that's why we've gone for these Samsung Galaxy tablets. But I was going to ask Liam, I see you put up iPhones. How did that come about, and is it a similar sort of thing to what we're doing?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share from my other screen. I'm going to share a photo here, so that at least you're looking at what we're talking about. So, okay, so the conversation is because of other things that Mary and I had been doing, I suppose, in County Donegal, basically in relation to sing-alongs, and we worked with this company in Donegal called the Local Development Company. Now, this every county in Ireland, every statutory authority has one of these, let's say, spin-off companies. From what I can see on their website, it would appear to me they have a staff cohort which have probably, in my view, in my estimate, they probably have a salary turnover of 4 million a year. So there's a significant consumer of taxpayer funds. Their core mission, their business mission, is social inclusion. So if we address the reality of the isolation of COVID, their mission to try and get people communicating together dovetailed, I suppose, with our interests. And we met through a music process. And then they approached us and said, we're trying to do something with men's sheds. And we said, okay, we have an idea. So our idea was that, and this is based on the fact that in our training with the various groups, one of the major problems that occurs when people have all sorts of different types of devices, so that it itself becomes a further complication. And we sort of felt that if we were able to get people to come together and just get to the meeting, and you'll see all of the phones in front of you, every single one of them is set up so they all look exactly the same. So you can see every one of them is cleared the home screens, and they can only have on the front of them Zoom, WhatsApp, YouTube, and a speed test. And so they agreed to purchase 10 of these. Now, we don't own these. These belong to these people. Now, when I say they agreed to do it, they agreed to do it after I told them I was just about to press the button to order 7 of these from Germany. Because like Mary and I decided, this is our mission. We're doing this. And, I'm beyond frustration of the fact that the statutory agencies in Ireland, I'm sure it's everywhere else, are so far behind the problem. And we aren't going to live long enough. We're just going to do stuff. So anyway, what they are, these are 7 Samsung A12s. Now there's 10 of them actually, but at the moment we have 7. We asked the sponsors to keep 3 of them for themselves initially. And this week, we're in the final day of 4-part training with the first set of people from the men's shed locally. What happens is, there's been a lot, I can tell you, there are many, many hours of setting these up. Each one of these has been set up in a Zoom account. They're all a numbered Zoom account, and they're all set up into a WhatsApp group. So effectively, we have handed these round to people. We've gone to their homes, left them with them and said, press the go button, press 0000, okay. And when the thing calls you, press the green button. And so that's what we've been doing. We're not in any way necessarily in truck, just to say that the name at the bottom there is and it's important that we recognize our sponsors, Donegal Local Development Company. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that anybody who will help develop this process will get recognition. So to give you an example of how it works in action, all right, so we've gone through 4 days of this. So everybody's had the very same device. Now, in parallel with that, we're doing this with this group of older people in middle of Donegal who are on different devices. So we're actually comparing, contrasting the 2 experiences. So this is an example of, I hope, I intended to share something which I did. What did I share? Hold on, I'm trying to share a photograph of yesterday's meeting. Where is it? Hold on, where the hell is this? Just give me one moment. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mary. So just say hello to the guys here, Mary. Just sorry. Hold on. Sorry. I'll just as you can hear there's your Mary. Hello. Say hello.
Yes, sir. We can't give you all a cup of tea or coffee, but anyway, that's the way things are at the moment.
We've been a park.
Maybe one day we will be able to
So I'm not sure if you can pack that up from my earphones. You can probably hear the dog barking. Anyway, guys, just sorry. All right, where is he? Here. Have to look at the camera. Go on. Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to show the picture because this picture really encapsulates, in my view, what this whole thing is really about. I don't know if I can just see it. Let's see. Yes, there's one. Okay, yeah. Just look at this, guys. Right. So there's we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have actually 11 participants there. There's 10 phones, and then there's my iPad as well. So you can see Mary in the bottom row on the left. There's in the second row, there's 2 women there from the sponsoring agencies, and the rest. And then on the top right-hand side, there's one of the guys in the sponsoring agency. Everybody else are members of our shed. But I want to draw your attention to the young chap in the middle and his grandfather. So his name is Jack. His grandfather's name is Connie. And on the second row on the right, Connie's son, Austin, who's Jack's uncle. But what I want to point is this is a most magical experience. Connie didn't have a phone, so we got one of them up to him. And Jack, who's some like 10 years of age, Jack just taught us everything. He just picked up the thing and he taught everybody. And so in terms of the magic, there's 3 generations of family at that event. Okay, so what we've seen is the feedback so far is that the fact that, guys, when somebody says that doesn't work, we're all working on literally the same product. So there's a great level of trust. The other thing is, it's important. All we can do in the 4 sessions is the basics. We're not scheduling meetings. We're not doing all of those other things. The phones are sub £200 phones, maybe 160 sterling. That's the sort of that mid-range phone. I'm not selling Galaxies as against anything else. And we don't have one for everybody in the audience. So like if we were to take and go with 8 new people every week, after 10 weeks, if we had 1 week of iteration, we would get them around 3,000 people. But it's really about creating a flagship. So, Steve, when you're talking about your devices, I'm hoping as a result of this and as a result of what Tom said there about looking for grants, that all the sheds can maybe learn how to approach their various sponsors or agents, one, to get a couple of devices, but people can get their own phones. It's really about creating an ease of utilization. So that's some background in relation to that. We're moving hopefully tomorrow. What we're doing is in our shed, we're taking what we call the low-hanging fruit. Those are likely to be able to go do it easy. Then we work with the next group of people, and we have about 15 guys in our shed. At the 3rd iteration, we'll be dealing with the fellow with the 4 cows who lives up the mountain and he's not really interested in coming down from the mountain. So that's where we're going to go, guys. So Steve, I mean, does that help sort of elucidate what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping you would say there. I like that about the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, exactly what we're going to do. Start with those that have got the either the sons or grandsons that are computer literate, and kick off with those, and then like your chap up top of the hill with the 4 cows, we've got a similar one out in the sticks, and we'll get to him. He'll be the last one.
Yeah, but just to say, Steve, there's a particular guy with us who at one stage used to own 50 houses in London. Okay, so he owned 50 houses, and so this guy has known how to count for a long time. And the last thing he will do, I will not use a phone. This is where he's at, right? But when I brought the phones along to guys last week, he says to me, when am I getting the phone? So inevitably, people are drawn into the process. So like my vision on all of this, I've met through you guys, a wonderful positive things. You, for Mary and I, we get energy from you guys. So we're just going to work with the energetic. I mean, I live in a world which tells me it can't be done. So I'm trying to zoom out of that. I'm zooming into the positive. So that's some background. I just want to make sure we get enough time to cover stuff. So I was going to move on to the second area of discussion, which is around I thought we have this basic training, but immediately with Graham and with Tony there and Dave, which is one of his other guys, it immediately came up, what do we do next? Which is wonderful because the hunger of something works that I want more. How can that be met? And within extremely limited resources. It's also I have this idea of using this like self-leveling compound. Try and get as much of the floor of the world covered, as many men in the world just using Zoom, in the belief that as we do that, we start meeting each other and then we find ways of climbing up the ladder. So maybe, Graham, if you would just come on and give us some of your thoughts, reflections, and what we've done so far and where you see it might go. Okay? Thanks, Graham.
Sorry about that. I see Tom had his hand up. I don't know whether...
Sorry, and can I just say, hold on, I'm sorry, Steve, where's he gone? Oh, God, you had your hand up. Did he drop out? No, I look from, go ahead, Graham, I'll come back to...
No, that's all right, that's fine. Yeah.
Because I had my hand up.
Okay, Tom, sorry, do you want to come in there? Sorry about that.
I want to say, when you're talking about the equipment, we also got a grant to purchase for 6 months the Zoom Open or the Premier Zoom. We got a grant from the BEC for 6 months to purchase that.
So this was to buy the Pro account, yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And we got 100% grant for that as well, yeah. Only for 6 months to see how it goes.
Yeah, and just to say, guys, that certainly when I bought a Pro account back in November or something, I mean, I had one about a year ago and I bought it again, but as in all the American things, I found that you could get an online discount, a coupon. And so maybe if people want to do that, we need to put it in an environment where you can find out how to buy the coupon. But I think I got 30% off or some useful stuff to know. So as one of the outcomes of this meeting, it'd be nice to be able to share that insight. So thanks, Tom. That's a good idea, guys. Getting a Pro account of what we might do with that. So sorry, can I just go back to Graham again then to pick it up? Sorry about that interruption, Graham.
No, that's all right. Don't worry. Yeah, I think the first meeting or course we did do well. It got people interested. Hannah is here now as another one that we brought in. And what I was hoping to do, and it sounds as though you're doing it anyway, is the next stage is on. And we did have a bit of a meeting about it with Dave and Tony in sort of going on to the hosting of meetings. In a way, it's taking the trainers perhaps one stage further on. And it was just to try and get something sorted so that we can do that because it obviously seems to me to be that Zoom is changing anyway. So you've got to get up to a certain level. And then tomorrow there'll be something else you're going to need. It sounds to me as though you're never going to learn it all. But at least if you're part way up the ladder, if somebody keeps adding another step, it doesn't look too bad. But if you're at the bottom of the ladder, you're going, no, I don't want to know that. It's way too far to go. And what I was hoping that we can do, and we will, I'm sure we will do, is sort out a tier and actual courses. That's really what my progression going on, you know, because practice makes perfect as well. And the idea is to do some short bits, because one of the other things we were talking about was getting it so that it can help the shed committees to spread things out and dilute the work that they've got to do. Because I think, I don't know, it's we're 3 members. The senior people who are in our shed don't seem to want to get involved. So we're just trying to get things sorted that way. But it sounds to me as though when your senior members are involved in it, Steve there with what you've done, and the others, it could be a benefit, but it's just trying to get that out there. It perhaps isn't really the training that you were thinking of me saying, Liam, but yeah.
No, fine. Just to say that, you know, what I found particularly, like I'm a particular type of character, and I operate in 360-degree directions at the same time, which means it appears to people that I'm totally chaotic, but there is an order within that case. It's just that there's so many threads to keep going, it's hard to keep them all in check.
Yeah.
When I communicated with Graham, I found him to be a very grounding individual for me, because he was able to say, I want this. And so I realized that working alongside with Graham in collaboration, we could still keep the freedom of my mind to wander all over the place, but lock it down in practical ways. So Graham's been very helpful in taking, say, the next step. So we can all be at a meeting, but what happens when we want to organize our own meeting? So it seemed, as we were talking about, that it seemed to me in 3 layers. Firstly, there was the route, just getting onto Zoom. The next was the stem of the tree. And in the stem of the tree, the nice part we wanted taken up to give us strength to carry the branches was the area of learning, how do we host a meeting? And Graham has been superb. Like there is, and I'll share in the 4th part of this, a Google Docs environment in which a lot of this has already been mapped out, setting out the sort of things. How do I host a meeting? How do I work the controls within the host's domain? How do I schedule a meeting? And then it moves on to a whole, how do I behave as the moderator of such a meeting? So I've been very fortunate that a man who I met in a different environment, who is a consultant at a Samaritans organization, but has a wonderful presentation on how best to operate, to be inclusive, etc. And he has, of his own generosity, I will help you, Liam, any way I can. So that's a resource that will become available. So let's say shed moderators wanted to do this session with this guy, and it's all voluntary. Like everything that's happening in this layer of what we're doing, everything that is happening here is without authority and done with accept the authority of or who we are, and it's not done for any money. And that doesn't mean, I mean, for this to work, people need to get paid. It's just that's not my mission here. My mission is to help people to get stuff going, and I think everybody's in the same vein here. But yeah, in the STEM. So my idea is to grow a STEM. So there's basic tools that people need to learn, like schedule a meeting, etc., recording a meeting, etc. And then it branches off. So Paul Nagel, I know, has set up, and maybe Paul will speak a little to this, to set up little sub-Zoom groups who are into fishing or painting or railway work or anything like that. And then there's other ones, guys who are into techie stuff. So they might be the pioneers that are out there, as Graham said, checking out what's coming down the road in Zoom. And like, to each his own. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful we can do that? It just takes time to develop that. And hopefully at the end of this, I want everybody to be in those shared docs and people to contribute to it. But as the thing grows spherically, obviously there's a slow, for every individual, until more people come on board, the evolution is slow. So that's really, and the other thing, when one of the guys in Graham said, Dave, he was interested in seeing how he could develop online quizzes. So in fact, one of the guys in our shed locally who works for the Irish Language Organization professionally has been doing quizzes for kids and things like that using a particular platform, which I forget, but it's not relevant because it's in the Google Docs. But he joined us for 15 minutes. He left his workspace, came in and did a bit of a demo to the guys. Now, as Tony said, big problem is you had to learn Irish first, but it wasn't. It was about the functionality. So look, thanks, Graham. Maybe, Paul, can you just come in a little and talk about that idea that you've been developing in Wales?
Hello, morning, everyone. Yeah, we excuse me, we take ShedNet is a social enterprise first off. So we look for funding to employ staff to do some of the work for the sheds we help. The sheds themselves are all, like most sheds, run by volunteers, unpaid workers and all the rest of it. But all of our sheds, which are closed at the moment, need help in lots of different things. Usually it was with governance, funding, and getting things in the real world working. But of course, when we had to close down, we had to find a way to keep connection with our existing sheds and to bring new people online. So we've got the shed online. So it's a website. None of us could use websites going back when we started. We had no idea how to do a website, but we've all learned, first of all, how to do the website. We've on the website, there's two sides. There's activities for people to come along to, so they can do online poetry and artwork and gardening and stuff like that. So there's loads of activities. People just pop in, look at it's a lot of YouTube videos at the moment because we can't make our own content yet. And then the other side is a lot of training to help people get their sheds going, which we're working on as well. We've Zoom meetings, about 5 or 6 Zoom meetings every week. And one of the things it does, you were talking about, Liam, is that a lot of our people, of the 200 odd people who are linked to our real sheds in the real world, only about 10-15% actually come to our Zoom meetings. So we're trying to find ways to get the other people who do go to the actual sheds to get them to come to Zoom. I'm trying to understand what the problem is to start with. Is it because of a conference thing? Is it because they don't have the equipment? Is it because they don't have the connectivity? Is it because they can't afford it? So like, I think it was Steve, we put in for funding to get some more tablets so that we can give tablets to people, make them very simple, like you were saying, Liam, so they just got to press a button to get onto things and to get more and more people involved. So one thing would be the connectivity, but then there's the training so that people can use it. And I like what you were saying about getting the family involved to teach the older people. That sounds like a very good idea to me, because we were thinking, well, from a distance, how do we train older people to use the tablets once we give it to them? So if we can get the family involved, that would help as well. So, it's a big job. We're only trying to support, our main aim is to support our sheds. We've got 7 different community groups, 7 sheds, and we just wanted to keep them together until we opened up again. But of course, because of Zoom, I'm now connecting to people across the world and seeing what they are doing. And we're all trying to do the same thing in a way. We want more people getting involved. I also think that when sheds close down, when we go back to the real world, there are still a lot of people who are housebound, who are lonely, who are isolated, who Zoom might be the only way for them to connect with us, and if we connect via technology, we might be able to get people to pick them up in a car and then bring them to the shed. So, it's got legs. All of this stuff got legs. There's a huge job. There's no end to it. I like what you're doing here. We'll do our little bit to help where we can, And once we get whatever training modules I am a trainer. So the last 30 years I've been a trainer. So I intend to make training modules online that people can access free. And of course, we'd be happy to share that with anybody once we get around to it. Just the start of the process at the moment for us. Okay.
Okay, thanks. So I just had a text there or a chat from Mick. Mick said he has to go now. So Mick, if you just want to come in and just say goodbye to everybody before you go, thanks for coming along, right? Just come on, Mike, there a minute, Mike.
Right, guys, listen, very nice to talk to you and hear, and onwards and upwards, that's all I can say on it.
All right, Mick, excellent. Thanks very much. Now, the other thing is, Charlie, you had a question there. Now, actually, what's happening, which is wonderful, Dan is just writing some notes in the chat as he goes along. I'm hopeful that all this will save. So I think the suggestion, look, if you think of anything while we're talking, put them into the chat and they'll all be circulated, etc. Because in others, in some way, we can all be co-writers of the minutes of this meeting. So I think that's a super idea, Dan. So if you're thinking what someone is talking, write them down. So Charlie, you asked the question. We just want to come in there.
Yeah. Have the men's shed, the UK men's shed, got a Zoom site? Meeting place, like the woodworkers. I'm on the woodworkers site, and they've got they pay for a site, and you could use that anytime you want. A lot of people have been using it for family parties.
Yeah, so I mean, in some way, that speaks a little bit to what I think I'd heard Paul talk about at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. You know, the idea of little Zoom groups with specialist interests. Paul, do you want to just comment a little on that, if I understood you right? And certainly, I think it's a great idea, Charlie, if we can some way promote it. Paul?
Oh, sorry, Liam, I was typing something in. What did you ask?
Yeah, so I mean, Charlie was just asking, was there a UK Men's website Zoom space around woodworkers? And I just said you had thought about the idea of recognizing different areas of interest and creating like communities of interest through Zoom spaces. So maybe just to talk a little bit that for a moment.
Well, I couldn't speak about the UK, or in Wales there isn't. In Wales there is an organisation, association called Men's Sheds Cymru, and they hold 3 chat rooms, one for South Wales, one for North Wales, and one for Mid Wales. But it's not about a political interest. It's like a coffee and chat room. You just go there and you do a general chat. So I know of nothing in Wales other than us where you can go on and do something of particular interest.
Okay, so I'm just trying to keep, I think I'm just mindful of time. This sort of leads into the area, that the third area of interest, which I'd ask Dan to speak to, because in some way it answers partially, or at least opens a channel of discussion to meet the question you raise, Charlie. So what Dan has been doing, maybe he'll just explain to us through the Sheds on Frontier area. Maybe just, Dan, you want to come in there and just give us some background of what's happening there?
I certainly will. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Again, I've just been jotting some notes down in the background. Some will double up on things that I'll pick up on. I just talked to what Paul was talking about there. John here is with us as he'd be a good representative of the UK Men's Shed Association, as he's now vice chair of that organisation, of the trustees. So he might be able to drop in on that in a minute. But Liam, I just talked through my notes here. Yeah, Sheds on Frontier, very quickly, is just like with Liam and everything that's going on with him, it's stuff that's in here, and we're trying to get as much of it out there as possible, and all sewn together neatly, get as many people involved, get as many people enthused, get as many people to understand that this project is all about getting people together. It's getting rid of the not the stigma, but the dreadful pain that goes with isolation and loneliness and all those things attached to these COVID times. So we are instigating a number of projects, just like Liam is, which whatever comes up, we're trying to push. And at the moment, we're the thing that I'm keeping going as much as I can is to just try and list. I don't want to list like a telephone directory, but I want a good healthy list of maybe 3 or 4 choices in any one day that people can literally go to that list. It's currently on Facebook. I'll talk about that in a minute, and I'll talk to that in a minute. But it's currently on Facebook and working on Facebook because that is the prime area where our social media is easiest accessed to the people that we know, which also brings up a huge question. But what we currently have is, I think it's about 7 or 8 regular Zoom meetings, which say this is a coffee and chat session. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. You just turn up if you want to. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to be an expert in anything. All you have to do is click this link. And if you click this link, you will see someone called Liam. And Liam on this link will be saying something like, you'll be talking about anything. And it'll just give an introduction. And then if I can, I'll also tag in the Facebook site again, because I mentioned this is on Facebook and that does have its issues. So I'll also tag in the site that goes with that thing. So for example, with John Rushforth and Nairn Shed, we've got a link to Nairn Men's Shed's Facebook site. So if there's any issues with that link or anything issues, they can click on that and find out that way. Now, issues with links is also a problem, which I think many people, if they've been experimenting with Zoom, will come across, and it's a learning process. But that's what we're doing as an organization. So I'm just trying to, I say an organization, which is basically, that's the organization, it's in there. and it's in my friend Nathan when he's having his better moments. It's also in his head, and in everybody else that I meet along the way, which includes many people on this call here today. Now, if you wouldn't mind, Liam, can I just pick up on a couple of things that I've picked up on here?
Yeah,
Just to...
yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. So what I say is, well, for me, I always talk in terms of shed community, but I also completely understand and realize that 85% of that is men's sheds. But when I talk about sheds, I talk about community sheds and shed community. So that's just me, and that's what I will always do. Thanks for giving me this host experience, Liam. I don't know whether I wanted it, but it's interesting. I haven't actually done much hosting, you might not believe, but it was interesting being able to sort of admit and not admit people and do that kind of thing, which brings me to one of the things that we have come across this week, which is some people are people talk about coding, and like the government was saying, everybody needs to learn how to code, because if you don't need to learn how to code, you won't be able to eat or drink. And it's just not true. It's a complete nonsense. The important thing here is that coding is like bricklaying, like learning Zoom. It's like bricklaying. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody is a book reader. Not everybody looks at manuals. They all bring up slightly different issues. Some people will love to do this, and the people who love to do this will be making this possible for everybody else. So again, I would say this is all about connection for all. And this is something, again, that's come up an awful lot this week. It's revisited me right back to when we started this with the Shed Happens Radio at the beginning of last year. And I was thinking, okay, it's all very well that there's, 15 of us on this call, or 16 of us on this call, or 17 or 16. But for every one of us, there's 2,000 or 3,000 people that will never, hear about this unless we get to, excuse me a second, unless we get to them. And it's how we get to them, which I would encourage every single one of you to always have on the tip of your mind when you're thinking about this, because when we get to them, all this stuff that we're doing is absolute wizardry. This is seriously thinking outside the box. I always considered myself to be one of those people too, Liam. So I'm bang on with you with that. So it's getting to them that's really important. And so what we're doing here is this old ballpark thing. We're building it, but we also need to get them to come, and that is a fundamental. So how can that be done? There's lots of different ways to approach that. What we picked up on this week, which is an interesting thing, Men's Sheds Cymru put out a very good Zoom meeting this week, which was to do with a gentleman producing Men's Sheds the Opera, would you believe? It's happening, and it's called Shoulder to Shoulder. It's been half written already, and he's intending to, he's done lots of experience in this area. He's intending to put this on as an accessible opera. We might have feelings about that one way or the other, but an accessible opera that will go to church halls all around Wales, primarily because there's Welsh money in it, and then schools and church halls and things like that. Now, whether opera is accessible or not is a big issue there, but some people will come and see it, and the more you put things on in towns and villages where there's less to do and you make the price available, then if you get to sons and daughters, not sons so much, again, they're not going to come. This is what I was explaining to the guy. It's difficult enough getting men in a men's shed sometimes, let alone getting them to go and see an opera about men's sheds. I think we know where we're coming from there. So anyway, you must encourage anybody that wants to do any of these things. Opera is his area. That's what he wants to do. So yes, do it. Go ahead. Do what you have to do. Because what you'll do is you'll get to the daughters, you'll get to the wives. And when that happens, the communication trickles down, and then you get to the people that we otherwise wouldn't get to, and they wouldn't come to us. So that's an important thing I would mention there, which also brings up, during that meeting, we were Zoom bombed. I don't know whether you've heard about Zoom bombing, but that's what happens when somebody gets a hold of your code for your meeting, gets on board, and then there's giggling in the background, followed by all kinds of interesting. I'm not going to I'm not going to repeat what was said on that occasion. It was ever so entertaining just for a minute or two, until, and this is a very good point to add to the list, Liam, somebody learnt how, by being an administrator of the Zoom or in control of the Zoom meeting, that you can eject somebody from a meeting. And so, for example, I don't know whether you're watching me on a highlighted screen. I hope you're not. I hope you're watching me on a screen with everybody. But if you're not,
gallery, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're not in the top right hand corner, you'd have the option to go to gallery view or speaker view, so you can get it so you've got everybody on screen. And when you've got everybody on screen, you'll see the person that's talking has got a yellow box around them very often. And if they've got a yellow box around them, so if you hear someone go, feck off or something like that in the background, which is, more or less what happened the other day, very loudly during this opera thing, discussion. And so as the controller, you can say, that's where the yellow box come up. That's the person that's doing it. You can make a note of their name. You can immediately go to the participants. You can scroll down the participants. You can click on more, and then second up from the bottom is remove. Bang, gone. So they're gone. Hopefully never to return. Of course, obviously you make a mental note and write down who they were and don't readmit them. But that kind of stuff is important. But this technology is only really important for the people who are going to run the meetings. I already know much more than is dangerous about Zoom. I know very little about Zoom, and that's more than enough for me. I'm hugely into the connectivity side of it, and that's a very important thing
okay,
to
so
me.
just right, Dan. So I thought, John, maybe you can just talk to your experience in Nairn about opening the sheds up. Like, we've been invited to come along. We've had a lovely time with you guys, and it seems to me the model of what you've been doing is a superb model that I think replicated worldwide would be a lovely way to. So maybe, John, you can talk a little about how you've done that.
I'm glad you brought me in, because I've just had my text that I've got to leave in a few minutes.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
I was going to have to go anyway. Nairn Shed, we started when the lockdown came. We had to find some way of keeping going, or I was determined to keep some way of things going. So Zoom became, I suddenly dropped in on Zoom and discovered it and thought, wow, this will work, Now, it did require a lot of help from many people. And that required me I remember one day going and sitting in one of our members' garden with the windows open, and me in the garden with an iPad, trying to get this person to get online, So it continued and became very, very popular. We regularly have 12, 15 people come along every week, on a Wednesday. It's just a chat. One of the sheds, when we started the shed, Nairn Shed, Wednesdays is a non-activity day other than sitting and drinking and enjoying one another's company. It's a cups of tea, cups of coffee, and just enjoy and dream about what the next project will be. And it's great fun. And lots of people just come to that. And I think that's very important for lots of people. So we continued it on a Wednesday, just opened it, and suddenly we realised we'd had many months of us being together without being able to, just us. But we thought, just open the doors, literally. That's what we did. Open the doors and said, come on in. And that's what's happened. And in doing so, it's been really good. We've opened up, found out all sorts of different things. Unfortunately, it got too good. So what happened is we had to restrict it. From 11 o'clock, we open the doors to the world. Between 10 and 11, we can sit and talk about the price of sugar in Nairn. We can just enjoy one another's company. But there was a few people that always used to join us, so we had to create associates members of Nairn Men's Shed in order that we didn't want to lose a few people. Dan's one of them, and Ralph from over at Fraserburgh Shed, and they had literally become members in the length of time they've been with us. So as far as we're concerned, they're Nairn people. But opening up your shed is great fun, but don't expect it all of a sudden to happen. Charlie's dropped in on our shed once. A few other people here have dropped in on our sheds a few times. It's there for people to drop in on. It's nothing more than that. It's drop in, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee. If you've got an idea, we'd love to hear it. If you've got an idea that's knocking around, because that's the space we use. Now, there are other sheds that I've dropped in on St Andrew's shed. They have a speaker at it. Every session they have a speaker. The interesting thing, and then they have a session that I didn't realise the admin can drop everybody into breakout rooms automatically. It's totally at random. You know, you've no idea who you'll end up in a room with, which was really great, because then suddenly I'm in a room with 4 other people I didn't even realise met before or anything else. But it was great because it was random. You know, that was the nice bit of it. So that's something I've learned. But I would recommend opening your shed up meetings to others, because you'll learn things. On that note, I'm afraid I have to run away. Otherwise, that phone call was get your ass somewhere else, I'm afraid. So,
all right, John, look, thanks again for that information and dropping in. So you just go when you're ready. So just 2 pieces of background information to that. Sorry, Derek, would you just come on there and add to that? Yeah. Just unmute yourself there, Derek. Sorry, just unmute your mic.
It's my stupidity.
No problem. Yep.
Yeah, just a couple of things to Paul and Dan, talking about the directories. I was on Dan's directory this morning trying to get into Cymru's meeting between 10 and 11, and I couldn't for the life of me. I went between Paul and Dan's emails and I couldn't get in. So what happened to Chris this morning, I don't know. Can I make a suggestion that when you do your directories, you do them in column, name of shed, day and date, well, day and time, just, and then put in your address and the details. So if anyone has to do it through Facebook or whatever, they've got those details. Dan's original one, I couldn't decide whether I was talking to Fraserburgh and clicking on Nairn's thing, because it was all
Derek, if I could just maybe come back to that, because, okay, so last week when I attended the Nairn shed, a guy visited us for a few minutes again. He's a young man, he's a web designer, and I asked him would he just drop in a few minutes. I contacted him and he has offered to do this. So what he's going to build, he's going to build a landing page, and essentially the landing page will look like your TV listings that we're used to all over the world. And there will be a couple of people. For example, what Dan is doing will be a content editor on that site. And essentially, we will end up with the TV listings in the columns, time zones, etc., that you're suggesting, Derek. So I think, now, just to say, like everything in the world, you think everything will be done yesterday. At 5 o'clock this morning, I got a text from to say there's a problem with the name servers on my web host. So we need to sort that out later. But that's happening. And therefore, the methodology that you talked about, Derek, will be addressed. I think what I learned from you guys in there, and that what we'll seek is people who are having recurring meetings. And I think everybody, and Dan has pointed out particularly, that the meetings have to be definitely on. And in response to that, from next Monday, our shed in Gweedore will be hosting twice a week, on a Monday and a Friday, from 10:30 to 12, that open, have a cup of tea and drop in. And again, that will add to that environment. And really, that our motivation to that arises from what we saw, you know, you guys up in Nairn doing and what Dan is doing. So they will add to that. What I think that will do is create more and more possibilities that people will end up dropping into sheds. So this dialogue will continue. And I'm mindful of whoever said, like, it's not about just this 16 people are here. The reality of it is we need to help stimulate that growth and spread it. So I'm just mindful again of our time. we're going to move on to the last section, which is talking about, I suppose, the backup resource for all of this, where we can both put information and glean information about it. Just before I go into that, myself and Mary is a nurse by profession, and we both went as visiting lecturers to a third level institute that I worked in Ireland, to a really innovative nursing lecturer who's a nursing lecturer in psychiatric health with mental health nursing. So we engaged with first and second year students last week about this whole idea, and really interesting, good feedback. And I suppose they thought that what we're talking about doing here is going to have a major positive mental effect on people's mental health. So just to reassure you that among the professional people working in this space, there's a deep understanding that what we're doing in this organic world is really valuable. So just the last section. So what I want to do is I just want to share with you on my screen, and I'll take you into Google Drive. And again, if this is something you're not familiar with yet, I don't want anybody either to be concerned of this. And Tony, I see your hand up again, so I will not forget you this time. But just let me take you into Google Drive and to say that what I've established an area in here, and it's called, at the moment, the folder is called Zoom for All in Donegal. So in order to focus on energy, Mary and I have decided there's 160,000 people in Donegal, and we're going to try and create a zeitgeist in Donegal, to try and the mission to have everybody online. But inside here, there's a whole series of documents. So for example, if we just take, I hope, Graham, that I'm in the right space, because there's so many documents and folders, etc. in here. Where do I see shed governance tips? No, that's not it. Hold on. So there was Zoom training stuff. Hold on till I see if I can find all this. We're organizing this material is important. But if we just take this area, there's a whole series. So, for example, there's a document there called Online Games that you can play in Zoom. And what I'm putting into that is any information that's necessary and links that are related to anything. So if we want to develop an interest in, there's one there, for example, one called Zoom for Seniors. And I'm finding YouTube videos that are interesting, which might look at where are the problems, etc. for people. So I want to say that there's one called Zoom Training, and there's cutouts and screen captures and endless material. Now, because of the nature of how this evolves, this isn't particularly well structured at this time. But that's anything we're learning. Our whole vision here is to put, I'll just come out of that space at the moment. So anything we're learning here is about how do we leave stepping stones behind us and make sure the gap between the stones is not too big. So in relation to that, the link for that folder, those folders are all set up as open editorials. So anybody can go in and add it, contribute, take, copy, paste, or whatever. So I will make sure that in the circulation information that goes out about this, that link will be in there. So my objective is that, so I want to see Tony. Hold on, Tony, because I know you dropped your hand before. And Tony, will you just come in there and just, good man, Tony, sorry. And apologies for not having picked up on you earlier. So just unmute yourself, Tony, will you, please? Good. Yeah, you need to unmute your mic.
There you go.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, excellent. I started a Zoom meeting with our shed about 4 weeks ago because I felt people were drifting, and they needed bringing back to the centre. So I started a Zoom meeting, and as I said earlier about the blind leading the partially sighted, or the partially sighted leading the blind, I'm really making it up as I go along. And we've sat here and people have talked about training. What training is available at the moment, Liam? That I learned this morning to rename myself. And
okay, Tony. So just right. So here's a suggestion, Tony. Myself and my woman Mary come in. If you can get 5 or 6 guys in your sure sheds to come along, we'll give you that 3-session event. And perhaps in one of those, maybe Graham or Tony might join us. So anybody, or maybe Tom or Mick or one of those, or maybe Colin here. So maybe they'll join us. So, we get the more hands on deck, the more we will help you. So Tony, I'm saying directly, the answer is yes. You just get the guy, like as with Graham. Graham said, I'll find 6, 7 people to say, yes, we just agree a time, we'll do it. So that's a definite, Tony. Is that okay?
That is magic. Thank you very much.
So what I need to do, Tony, is make sure when I'm just going to put my email address into the chat, and if you just make sure you pick that up. So after this, Tony, if you just come back to me, and maybe I'll just ask if what Graham thinks, maybe he or Tony or one of his guys might be prepared to join in and help. But if you are, guys, just let us know, because that's the way we can make this happen, is by helping each other. So Graham, do you want to just speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, that's fine. No, I'd like to do that, because to me, part of my thing is, it said down there, practice. I'd like to do that. I'd also like perhaps to come in and when you're doing your ones and stand at the background and just pick it up.
So just Tony, I mean, look, this is brilliant, because Tony, you represent, I'd say, the next layer that Dan was talking about of people who are out there. So how can we, there's a couple things. One, I can guarantee that anybody who comes will be able to carry out those basic things as everybody has. And again, perhaps Tom, if you joined into that, then the other thing is, every time we do it, we learn how to do it. It's not just for you guys. We all learn better. But Tony, we're delighted. I mean, it's wonderful that out of this meeting, there's the possibility of helping other people do what men's sheds can do, be there for each other. So you make sure, Tony, you connect with me after. Just pick up my email there. Is that okay?
I will. Is that a 12? Is that
Oh, sorry. I hope I've written this correctly. It's not that I'm dyslexic. I just really am bad at paying attention. Hold on. Let's just say. So it's Ogogon L. But let's just make sure.
That's an L.
I'm wrong. Sorry. Geez, hold on. It's an L. I'll just recorrect it. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry, and thanks for pointing that out to me. Again, Tom, maybe if you have some...
Liam, count me in for that, whenever you set it up, just drop me a line.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so I think the point that Graham makes, I mean, if the more of us that come along, Tony,
I'm also happy to help in any way that I can.
Yeah, so just Tony, you can see already that myself, Tom, Graham, and Tony, and in fact, what we'll do when we set it up, we'll circulate when we're doing it to as you can see Graham nodding there. So anybody who wants to join in, our mission on that day will be to highlight the individuals who are new and to love bomb them to the extent that they can get in. And the other thing is that I just want to speak quickly to what Dan says about Zoom bombing. Look, Zoom bombing is a security issue and has been from the very outset. But look, we're all looking at the picture. All of us have lived our lives. There's not many new fucking jokes we're going to hear from somebody. Like, look, kids are kids. They'll do what they do. I mean, obviously, and we all know the basic, be decent to other people. And if you're not, find somewhere else to do it. Like, I'm not a Millwall fan, guys, but nothing against them. But I don't want any yabos. I hope you're not Millwall fans. But like, this is not the National Front and it's not the IRA. It's just guys trying to help each other. Colin, can I just ask you briefly to come in to talk to your experience? Because Colin has been doing wonderful work right back in just through Facebook groups originally, but he's on the ground doing stuff around painting for both men and women. But I think Colin is excellent as a presenter of what he does. But I think you could talk well to how that experience is going, Colin. Will you do that?
Well, as I say again, thanks to Liam and Mary. We can never thank them here, even though we're in Donegal and on the west coast and a one-day day like this. And we're talking to you fellas from all over Wales and England and Scotland. I've been on all the meetings up to now, and very interested today to hear you fellas want to come on to learn. And we're, as Liam says, only to sit down and help you out anyway. Because a couple of months ago, I knew nothing. The messenger was the thing that we were doing a little art class through the men's shed there, and then Liam came on board and Mary and helped us out, and Liam took it upon himself to send me over a camera, and we got a laptop, and then I was doing a couple of art classes with the Donegal shed, the Ardra shed, and the boys felt left out, that there were nothing happening. We were ringing around and we were chatting to each other on the phone, and all of a sudden we just realised we could do something, and we done it through Messenger first, which is not good. But when Zoom came along and Liam talked us through Zoom now, at the start I didn't know a lot about the Zoom situation, and Liam and Mary came on board because they were doing their music, as I know that they're very famous now here in Donegal and here in England and all over, at their lovely singing at the Beat, and just sit down for an hour and listen. But anyway, it was great help to us, and we would return that favour to anyone that wants. I have been doing art now with the men's shed over 10 years. We were one of the first here in Donegal to have 3 men's sheds that were supported by the government. And for my sons, I got teaching art through the fellas, and I paint in 3 different mediums, water, acrylics and oils. I've been doing it for 40 years and was only too happy to help out. And what I noticed, the characters coming in were all in their 70s and 80s and all worked great lives, bankers, lorry drivers, fish merchants, fish owners, and they had all loads of money. But you know something, boys, they had no friends. All their friends at that period of time, and when the men's shed started up, it was a great. And then when lockdown came, it was a disaster, and we got around it. As I say, I run an art class, and we run a music class too, as well as an whistle class, and we done a ukulele class there lately. But I have to say now, a lot of this here got good because of Liam. The first classes I had was 8 people. Today now I'm after getting a call. There's another 30. I would have about 100 people now involved in art classes. It's actually getting a wee bit out of a hand now. I'll have to call in another artist to help me with the looks of things. But the whole fact is my art classes is not always, as Lee will tell you, about art. It's about having a chat, a cup of tea. I talk them through little paintings and things. You can sit in and have a cup of tea. You don't have to paint. And what I noticed, you see, in the men's shed, when we had our art day, there were more fellas sitting and listening to us talking about painting. They were actually painting. And that was one of the reasons. It was kind of a magnet and it drew people in. And it's doing the very same thing now as well. So I have to say thanks to Liam and Mary and Michael Malloy, which is in the art dry shed here. And when it all this lockdown disappears, hopefully they just will be fit to drop over for a few days, and we'll go down to the beautiful place that Liam lives in, the home of Irish music, the Counts na Gaeilge, and down to Kilmacrennan, which is another. We have an overused the railways, and in the last day we had a couple of boys on talking about railways, but I've got to tell them Donegal is very famous for railways too. We have some lovely old railway people doing stuff. So as I say, the whole thing about the Zoom, as I see, just go on and be yourself. Chat, have a cup of tea. If it's art, music, or what Liam's doing, having a cup of tea and learning us how to use a new. Now, I'm using a tablet today because I couldn't get on the laptop here behind me, and I'm just learning all the new little things that's on it. And I can talk to people around the world on this little laptop, on this little iPod that costs €120, and I can talk to anyone in America, Australia, you name it. I can be talking to them and painting with them. So it's very good in that way. And as I say, any help you want. Again, we're here. Liam will get in contact us with a message anytime. And even I came on the day now and I know a little bit about it. I've learned more about the whole thing again. And what I've learned today, sometimes it's good to listen to. So thanks, Liam, on that behalf. And thanks to Mary and Liam for the great work that they're doing. And congratulating them too for getting the phone set up there. He was talking about it a few weeks ago. He's a man of action. That's all I can say. And Mary too. Thanks, Liam.
Okay, guys, I'm just mindful of it's 12:39, and insofar as we set out 90 minutes to this, I think we've done very well. So what I just want to do, I'm going to do a quick checkout in a moment. But so what I expect to do from now, at the end of this, because it's gone on, generally this is stored, the recording is stored on the cloud. I just hope it's still recording. Okay, brilliant. So that will take a period to process. I will download that and upload it into YouTube. And then, so there'll be a YouTube link to this conversation. At the bottom of that, in the information section, I'll put the link to the Google Docs space. And I would ask you people, when you go into it in YouTube, in the comments on YouTube, perhaps, Dan, you might put a link into your Sheds on Frontier and Paul. So any links you guys, put them into YouTube. Now, what we want to do with that is try and get as many people to look at this as possible. Because I can tell you, if I was where Tony is now, I think to speak for you, I think it's reasonable to say that you've come in here and I think you'll say, hey, this is great. I come in here and meet guys who are doing stuff and they've offered to help me. Would that be reasonable to say, Tony? And thanks for giving me your email there. I'll be follow up with you. Sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, it's fantastic. What a great morning. Thank you very much indeed. You know, I'm not signed up to Pro on Zoom, and at the moment we're just basic. So we get 40 minutes, and it takes 20 minutes to get everyone signed in.
Yeah, but just to say, but what, for example, within the training process that we're going to set up, because I have a pro account, none of you guys need to worry about that. So we can take our time. This is the way it operates. The first session takes 2 hours. There'll be 3 following sessions of 40 minutes each. So look at that's when I say it's wonderful this happened today because there's people with all sorts of experience. So simply I just use that opportunity for you to check out, Tony. So I'm just going to move around now to give everybody a chance to say goodbye. So Tony, I'll come to you and you can tell me your point as you're heading out. Okay, no, Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I was simply going to say thank you very much for this great opportunity this morning. Oh, sorry, we talked about which Tony are we talking about?
No, sorry, that's you, Tony. Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks very much for this morning. Great opportunity. Liam, I look forward to talking to you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Brilliant. So we'll move to Tony Livington, our second Tony. Okay, excellent stuff, Tony. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Just one point that Tony brought up. As things stand at the moment with COVID, how long this will last, I don't know. But on Zoom meetings, when you get about 30 minutes, a little message comes up that they're actually taking the time limit off. So instead of going for 40 minutes, you can go for as long as you like. Doesn't cost you anything. As things stand at the moment with COVID and all that good stuff. So, yeah, Liam, a really nice one.
Brilliant.
Lovely to talk to everybody. Didn't really learn the things that I thought we was going to go into the hosting and all that. My expectations were too high.
Careful what you wish for, mate.
No, just to say, Tony, I think we got to look at this like the tide coming in all over the world. It's coming in bits of time. So I'm hoping we'll continue that dialogue between yourself, myself, Graham, and others. So we'll do that. So thanks, Tony.
I fully support what you say about we go as fast as the slowest. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
Brilliant. Okay, so we'll just bring Tom into hi, Tom, right?
Right, it's great. Thanks, Liam, for organising the meetings. And it's great to come in and just listen to what's going on and to contribute something really good. Thanks, Liam.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. So we go to Charlie. So just unmute yourself, Charlie. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for, I think you learn as much by playing about with the things on the bottom when other people are talking. That's how you get to know how things work. So anyhow, thank you.
Brilliant, Charlie. Excellent stuff. So we move to Derek. All right, Derek.
Hi, Liam. Yeah. Thanks very much for... sorry, I got a message up on the screen.
No
Thanks
problem.
very much for this morning. I've listened more than contributed, shall we say. But one thing I would like to say, there's a lot of duplication. And I think if Paul and yourself and Dan and anyone else that you come across is trying to do the same thing, i.e. a directory, it might be worth the 3 or 4 of you getting together and putting it all into one. And second thing, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Leave it at that. I'll come in later.
Okay, just to say that, yes, that idea, of course, it's a bit like the theory of evolution, Darwinian theory. All over the world, things were happening at the same time. And I think the conversation we're in is going to funnel stuff. So, for example, with this guy, when he puts a website up, I mean, specifically, he will create content editor spaces so that Dan and others who are doing stuff can help modulate that. The other thing is that site will also hopefully contain little links to how-to videos on YouTube as to how to do things. So it'll hopefully be able to go to a place. Its only function, its only function is to be a landing page for men's Zoom meetings. So thanks there, Derek. So I'll go to Trevor.
Can just
Trevor,
before
okay?
you go to just before you go to Trevor,
sorry.
Is it possible to for the Zoom teachings? Could you and Dan and anybody else who is interested in Zoom, interested in teaching us, Can you make a short video?
Yeah, just to say, okay, I suppose again with only 2 hands and 3 washing up liquids, it's in the can to do it. Look, I've done as part of my work as a lecturer. I mean, I was particularly, my passion is around what I call reusable learning objects, creating these reusable things. So yes, that's coming, and I think that's probably the way. If we could actually make the video, we'd work ourselves out of a job, which is what we need to do if we're going to spread it to the masses. No, but that's the reality of it. So yeah, that's what's going to happen, guys. So look at Trevor. I just moved to you, Trevor. I just want to make sure I get everybody before we head out. All right, Trevor.
Yes, thank you very much. Very helpful. This question of Zoom extending beyond 40 minutes. I think I found every time you went in with a new email to make a new account, you ended up with this, offer to extend the meeting.
Oh yeah, it does. It does if it's just 2 people very often. If there's 3 or 4 of you involved, it'll cut you off at 40 minutes. Generally speaking, it's trying to encourage you to buy, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Trevor, that's good. So I'll go to Steve. Steve, over to you.
Unmute. There we go. Breaking news while we've been online, Liam. We've just received our.
Woo! Super, great, right? Yeah.
5 of those just arrived. Oh, who's ringing a bell? That's not me.
Actually, just when you hold it up there, hey Steve, will you hold it up? I'll just take a quick screenshot. Okay, excellent. Yeah, no, that's brilliant, because I just again will use this to spread the idea. So wonderful stuff. And the next time, look at the other thing is I'm going to try and organize these on some sort of regular basis. We'll get an update from Steve the next time on how's that's going. All right. So is that okay?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go to Dan. Just Dan, a quick goodbye and any other thoughts or whatever. And thanks again, Dan, for pulling at those notes and chats to get anybody want to add in any further information, please do it. I just hope, Dan, that if anybody can save the chat locally, fine, because I'm doing off of an iPad and I can't guarantee what happens on my end, but I hope it all comes true. All right, guys? Yes, Dan. All right.
It'll all come to you in a big thing. Lots of different information, and you'll have text files and all sorts. A text file is what you're seeing in the chat, so you should get all of that. And you're recording to cloud, which is also the right thing to do. Though I've never done it. It's the right thing to do because it's more secure. I just talked to a couple of things very, very briefly. We're all outside the box here, so also Ford and Mercedes-Benz, they didn't talk to each other, but we are. That's the difference. So when you're talking about reinventing the wheel, you're talking about people here who all care about doing the same thing. Also Steve mentioned in his chat there that he's very happy for people to jump into the Isle of Wight meeting. Steve, that's brilliant, but do ask your Zoomers first. Just clear it with them and clear a time and a regular date and let us know, and then we'll put that down and that'll be great. And the other thing is mobile Wi-Fi. Again, mention with your little Galaxy A tabs that you've got there. I've put a lot in the chat here, which will turn up in a Google document at some stage, I'm sure, which simply says, you can get mobile Wi-Fi boxes, breakout boxes, and you can go and sit on top of a mountain and have Wi-Fi if you need it. So nobody needs even a fixed telephone line to be on Zoom. And they don't even need to understand how it works. They just need to press on the on button.
Okay. All right. So I just want to go to Hannah, I think. Are you there, Hannah? Okay, Hannah, because you got your video going, which is great. Just say hello and goodbye in the same breath. And just the only other one is Raymond there in Kilmacrenan. I'm going to try and come to you last. So if you can restart your video, it's the only way I can spotlight you. So how are you, Hannah? Now that you got your video going, all right?
Yeah, yeah, the only go on the system. Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it's excellent. I think it's so important to have communication. I think, unfortunately, with the shed that I'm with, we don't do enough of that. And I think it's lovely to see other sheds that they are making progress and doing this. It's really important. It's important for mental health. It's important for well-being, and yeah, it's good to see. It's very positive, because Pete, I think this is gonna continue for quite a while. I think it could even go on to the rest of this year. So it's good that people are talking and keeping in communication, because I got to admit, a lot of my shedders that I see, obviously I see Graham and Tony more, hi guys. But a lot of the shedders, actually, I haven't really seen in my shed since March last year, and it's a long time not to communicate with people. I think they are, unfortunately, I think they're communicating between themselves, but that's another story. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to see that people are talking and communicating, because it's so important. When you do come back together, you'll feel that connection back again. And I think, yeah, there's some sheds with Zoom. It's brilliant.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. So we're just going to Raymond. Hi, Raymond.
Hi. Just listening to you and enjoying it, and just keep in touch, keep moving on, and that's all we can keep doing. That's
Brilliant.
it.
Thanks. Excellent. Thanks, Raymond. So I'll go to Colin. I'm not sure that I might have lost Graham and he might have dropped out, but I want to make sure I get everybody in. But say, Colin, oh, you're there. Okay, I'll get you now. So
don't worry.
Yeah. All right, Colin. Yeah, just
thanks for everything. It was very interesting, and the power of the Zoom is brilliant. And as I say, any help that Liam knows our numbers and stuff, and if we can help you. And it was great to listen to everyone around, and everyone keeps safe, and hopefully it'll all clear. But one good message on this will go on after the use of Zoom. Will go on, and it'll be fit to keep. So it's a great way of getting the network now set up, all Ireland, all England, Wales, and it'll be nice to meet and talk to all the fellas that and ladies that are involved in it. In this, so thanks, Liam, and for everyone that came on. Thanks from Donegal, our Drag County Donegal, for you all.
Okay, Colin, so I'll just get to you, Graham, and just to say to you, I hope I've included everybody. Just at the end, I'll ask if somebody has been included that they'll come on and speak. So, Graham, go ahead, yeah.
No, thank you. Great to see you all. Yeah, I hope we can keep going at this. I know we're all saying it might end at the end of the year. I think if we get this right, this will carry on, whether it ends tomorrow or in another 12 months' time. So my feeling is we do need to get this up and running and not wait. But yeah, and I'm happy to help and help you too, Liam. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you, Dan, as well, and all of you. That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay, super. So, to be honest with you, what I do think is wonderful is the fact we've managed to get through a lot of stuff. Derek, you just wanted to come in with a quick one there, yeah?
Yeah, sorry. If everybody on this page now contact one other person in their shed, go on to Facebook, Nairn Shed, and get our Wednesday address, or Dan you can get it on Shed Song Frontier. Please get someone else and yourselves. I know Graham's been on with us, Dan's been on with us, Liam's been on with us. But if everybody on this page here today, and there's 15 of us, including the ladies, get one other person to come on and see if we can double Nairn's 11 o'clock international shed.
Brilliant. Yeah, so look, just to tidy up now, firstly, I'm delighted that, thanks everybody for coming. The other thing is the focus and attention and positivity that everybody is given to this. It's so easy because, I know in talking to people that there's so much negativity, there's so much apprehension, there's so much disconnect in everybody's lives. It's hard to keep going. So it's really, for me, it's really nurturing to be in your company and to keep going forward. I mean, I realized the next path in my life is death. I mean, that's the only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes, right? So I don't like fucking taxes and I can't avoid death. So in the meantime, I want to live. So what's going to happen after this is I will, as soon as I have this up in the afternoon, there'll be 2 more Zooms this afternoon, but I'll have this up by this evening in YouTube. You will get the emails as you have. I'll encourage people to add into the YouTube comment section any data and then send that link to as many people. And that hopefully will extend the concept that Derek is saying. So once again, guys, thanks very much for appreciate everybody's presence here. Wonderful. Obviously, I also want to try and keep this as a rolling process. I don't know. there isn't a structure per se, and because it would become a bureaucratic nightmare. I mean, it's a forum. It's a place that we come because the core value is how do we help men and sheds everywhere to be able to use this wonderful tool to meet each other. And I go back to what John Rushforth said, that men can drink tea and dream. To do that, we have to help people do this. There's a bit of work to be done to meet them. So thanks, everybody. I just say good luck to everyone. Just give us a wave there. I capture it. Okay. All right, guys, I'll end the meeting now and we'll chat soon. Okay.